This chalice was meant to hold the blood of Christ. That is what the seminary taught me. 7 years of Latin, theology, and prayer to prepare me for the sacred mystery of transubstantiation. But in this cold stone chapel, on this February morning in 1942, it no longer feels sacred. It feels like a prop, a disguise. The gold has tarnished at the base where my nervous fingers worry the metal every single day. I lift it now, feeling its weight, and I realize this cup is no longer a vessel of salvation. It is a shield, a flimsy golden shield between me and the men who would destroy everything I love. My hands are shaking. The candles flicker in the draft that seeps through the broken stained glass window, the one that shattered 3 months ago when they dragged the Rosenberg family out of their apartment across the street. Nobody has fixed it. Nobody dares. The colored shards still lie in the gutter like frozen tears, red and blue and gold, catching the weak winter sun. I can see them from here, glinting in the ice. I have 4 minutes before the early Mass begins. 4 minutes to decide whether I'm going to give the homily I wrote last night, the one that speaks in parables about sheltering the stranger, about defying unjust laws, or whether I'm going to read the approved text that Hauptsturmführer Keller left on my desk yesterday afternoon. His handwriting is neat, efficient. The message is clear. Obedience to authority is obedience to God. The state is divinely ordained. To resist is to sin. I look at both pieces of paper now, laid side by side on the altar. One smells like incense and desperation. The other smells like ink and threat. My throat tightens. The door creaks open behind me. I do not turn. I know who it is. Frau Dietrich. She comes every morning, even in the snow, even in the dark. Her son is in the Wehrmacht, somewhere on the Eastern Front. She has not heard from him in 6 weeks. She lights a candle for him every day, whispering prayers I cannot hear, her lips moving in the dim light like a penitent ghost. She does not know that beneath the sacristy floor, hidden under 200 years of stone and dirt, there are 3 children, Jewish children. Their parents are dead. I do not know their names. It is safer that way. But I know the youngest one coughs at night. A wet, rattling cough that terrifies me every time I hear it through the floorboards. If Frau Dietrich knew, would she turn me in? Would she choose her son's safety over theirs? I do not know. And that uncertainty is a knife in my ribs. The bell tolls. 5 o'clock. Time. I fold Keller's homily and place it in my pocket. I pick up my own. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my teeth. I'm about to lie to God in his own house, or maybe I'm about to tell the truth for the first time in months. I step toward the altar, and I whisper under my breath, "Forgive me." But I do not know who I am asking. I wake in the dark. There is no alarm clock. My body knows dead. It has learned the rhythm of survival. Wake before dawn, move in silence, leave no trace. The rectory room is barely warmer than the outside air. My breath rises in pale clouds as I sit up on the narrow cot, the thin wool blanket falling away from my shoulders. The cold bites immediately, sharp and surgical, cutting through the black cassock I wore to bed because I cannot afford to waste body heat on changing clothes. I light the stub of a candle. The flame sputters, then catches, throwing long skeletal shadows across the walls. The plaster is cracked. There is a water stain in the corner, shaped like a map of Italy, brown and spreading. A slow rot that no one will fix because there is no plaster, no labor, no money, no time. Everything is rationed now, even hope. I kneel beside the bed and fold my hands. The wood floor is like ice against my knees, and I welcome the pain. It focuses me. It reminds me I am still alive. Our Father, who art in heaven. The words come automatically, muscle memory from childhood. But my mind is elsewhere. It is in the sacristy. It is beneath the floor. It is with the 3 children I am hiding, and with the 8 others I have smuggled out of the city over the past 4 months, using forged baptismal certificates and the network of priests and nuns who risk everything to move Jews, resistance fighters, and the condemned from safe house to safe house. I don't finish the prayer. I stand, joints cracking, and move to the small wash basin in the corner. The water is frozen solid. I crack the surface with the handle of my razor, and I wash my face with shards of ice, gasping at the shock. It wakes me fully. The face staring back from the tarnished mirror is not the one I remember. I am 34 years old, but I look 50. My cheeks are hollow. My eyes are sunken, ringed with shadows that no amount of sleep, if I could sleep, would erase. My hair, once dark and thick, is now streaked with gray at the temples. I look like a man who has seen too much. I am a man who has seen too much. I dry my face with a rag that smells of mildew and pull on my outer cassock, the formal one with the 33 buttons running down the front, one for each year of Christ's life. My fingers fumble over them. They are stiff from the cold, clumsy and slow. I used to button this cassock in under a minute. Now it takes 3. As I work, I think about the children below. Rachel, that is the girl's name. I learned it 2 days ago when she whispered it in her sleep, a soft, broken sound that drifted up through the heating grate. She is maybe 12. The boys are younger. Brothers, I think, though they do not speak. Trauma has stolen their voices. They arrived 4 nights ago, brought by Sister Agnes from the convent on the east side of the city. She knocked 3 times, paused, then twice more. The signal. I opened the door to find her standing in the snow, a bloodstain on her habit, 3 shivering shadows behind her. She said, "Only, their parents were taken yesterday. There is nowhere else." I didn't ask questions. I took them down to the sacristy, moved the heavy rug, pried up the stone slab, and led them into the crawl space that was once used to store wine during the Napoleonic Wars. It is barely 4 feet high. The air is damp and stale. There are no windows. I gave them blankets, a candle, a bucket, and a loaf of bread that I stole from my own rations. I told them, "Do not make a sound. No matter what you hear above you, do not make a sound." Rachel nodded. The boys stared at me with eyes like black holes. I do not know how long they can stay there. A week? 2? The cough is getting worse. If it turns into pneumonia, I will not be able to get medicine. The pharmacies are watched. Every prescription is logged. Every doctor reports to the authorities. If the child dies down there, I will have to bury him in secret. I will have to carry his small body out in the dead of night and dig a grave in the frozen earth behind the chapel, unmarked and unmourned, just another ghost in a city full of ghosts. I button the last clasp and take a breath. I am not a brave man. I want to make that clear. I am terrified. Every footstep in the street outside makes my heart stop. Every knock on the door feels like the beginning of the end. I do not sleep more than 2 hours at a time because I'm waiting for the Gestapo to kick down the door and drag me into the street. But I'm still here, still moving, still lying. I open the small wooden drawer beside my bed and pull out the stack of blank baptismal certificates I stole from the diocesan office 3 months ago. They are pre-signed by the bishop, an old man with trembling hands who does not look too closely at paperwork anymore. I have filled out 27 of them so far, each one a careful forgery, each one a lifeline. I have given Jewish children Christian names, Christian birthdays, Christian histories. I have turned Sarahs into Sophies, Davids into Daniels, erasing identities to save lives. It is a sin, I think, to lie on a sacred document, but it is a greater sin to do nothing. I tuck 3 blank certificates into the inner pocket of my cassock, along with a small vial of holy water and a folding knife I carry now. Not for violence, but for cutting ropes, prying open crates, slicing through the small obstacles that stand between life and death. I blow out the candle. The room goes dark. I step into the hallway, my footsteps soft on the stone floor, and I pause at the top of the stairs. Below me, the chapel waits. Above me, the bell tower looms, iron and shadow. The bell's silent now because the Nazis requisitioned the bronze for ammunition. They melted down the voice of God to make bullets. I descend the stairs, one hand on the cold stone wall, and I think about the homily in my pocket. If I read it, I will be arrested. If I do not, I will be complicit. There is no good choice. There is only the choice I can live with, and I do not know which one that is yet. The streets are empty. It is still dark, the kind of pre-dawn darkness that feels less like the absence of light and more like the presence of something heavier, something suffocating. The snow fell again last night, a thin layer of white that covers the filth and the rubble but does not hide it. I can still see the shapes beneath, the broken cobblestones, the shattered glass, the dark stains that might be oil or rust or blood. I pull my coat tighter around my shoulders and walk quickly, head down, eyes forward. The trick is to look purposeful but not hurried, calm but not casual. Too fast and you look like you are running from something. Too slow and you look like you are hiding something. I have learned the rhythm, the pace, the mask. The checkpoint is 3 blocks ahead. I can see the glow of the brazier they keep burning, a small circle of orange light in the gray morning. 2 soldiers stand beside it, stamping their feet, rifles slung over their shoulders. They are young, 18, maybe 20. Their faces are red from the cold, their breath rising in thick clouds. One of them is smoking a cigarette, the ember bright against the darkness. I keep walking. My papers are in my left pocket, folded and ready. My identification card, my travel permit, my letter of authorization from the diocese stamped and signed, giving me permission to move through the city to perform my duties. Everything is in order, everything is legal, but my heart is still racing. Because beneath the legal papers, hidden in the lining of my coat, are the 3 blank baptismal certificates. If they search me, if they find them, I am dead. Not arrested, not interrogated, dead. They will shoot me in the street and leave my body as a warning. I reach the checkpoint. The soldier with the cigarette looks up. His eyes are pale blue, bored and cold. He says in German, "Papers." I hand them over without a word. He glances at them, barely reading, then looks at me. "Where are you going, Father?" I say calmly. "To the chapel. For morning mass." He grunts. "Bit early, isn't it?" I nod. The faithful come early. They pray before work. He hands the papers back. "Go on." I take them, tuck them into my pocket and walk past. I do not look back. I do not speed up. I maintain the same steady pace, even though every instinct is screaming at me to run. Behind me, I hear one of the soldiers laugh, a low, cruel sound. I do not know what he is laughing at. I do not want to know. I turn the corner and exhale. The chapel is 2 more blocks. I can see the crooked spire rising above the rooftops, dark against the pale sky. The stained glass is gone, blown out in the bombing last year, and the windows are boarded up with whatever scrap wood could be found. It looks less like a house of God and more like a tomb. Maybe that is what it is now. I pass the ruins of the Jewish quarter, or what is left of it. The buildings are hollow shells, blackened by fire, the windows empty and staring. There is graffiti on the walls, crude and hateful, words I will not repeat. The streets here are silent. No one walks here anymore. The people are gone, taken in the night, loaded onto trains, sent east. To where? We do not know. The rumors are terrible, unthinkable, but we do not know. I keep walking. A cat darts across the street in front of me, thin and wild-eyed, its ribs showing through its fur. It disappears into the rubble. I wonder how it survives, what it eats, whether it knows it is living in a graveyard. The smell hits me as I approach the chapel, damp wool, old smoke, and something else, something sour and rotten that I cannot name. It is the smell of occupation, of decay, of a city dying slowly, 1 brick at a time. I reach the side door of the chapel and pull out my key. My hands are numb from the cold, and it takes 3 tries to fit the key into the lock. The metal scrapes, loud in the silence, and the door finally swings open. I step inside and close it behind me. The warmth is minimal, but it is there. The small wood stove in the corner is still burning from last night, fed with scraps and splinters I collected from bombed buildings. I add another piece of wood now, a broken chair leg, and the flames lick at it greedily. I stand there for a moment, hands outstretched toward the heat, and I listen. Below me, beneath the floor, I hear nothing. Good. Silence is survival. I cross to the sacristy and unlock the door. Inside, the room smells of incense and mildew, the familiar scent of my childhood, of every chapel I've ever served in. The vestments hang on hooks along the wall, white for purity, red for martyrdom, green for ordinary time, purple for penance. I choose the green today, ordinary time. As if anything about this is ordinary, I pull the vestments on over my cassock, the heavy fabric settling on my shoulders like a burden. The stole hangs around my neck, embroidered with golden thread that has started to fray. I kiss it, as tradition demands, and I think about the children below. I think about the homily in my pocket. I think about the man who will be sitting in the front pew this morning, watching me. Hauptsturmführer Keller. He comes every Sunday now, not because he believes, but because he wants me to know he is watching. He sits in the front row, arms crossed, his uniform immaculate, his face expressionless. He does not sing the hymns, he does not kneel, he does not pray. He just watches and waits. I move to the small desk in the corner and open the drawer. Inside is the homily I wrote last night, the one I have rewritten 12 times, trying to find the balance between truth and survival. The words are careful, coded. I speak of Pharaoh and Moses, of the Hebrews enslaved in Egypt, of the courage it took to defy the law of the land to follow the law of God. Anyone with ears to hear will understand. But will Keller? And if he does, what will he do? I fold the homily and place it in my pocket beside the blank certificates. My hand brushes against the cold metal of the chalice on the desk, and I pick it up. This chalice was meant to hold the blood of Christ, but today it feels like it is holding mine. The parishioners arrive in silence. They do not greet each other. They do not smile. They slip into the pews like shadows, heads bowed, hands folded, their faces carved from stone. There are maybe 30 of them this morning. There used to be 200. Frau Dietrich sits in her usual spot, third pew from the front, left side. She is already praying, her rosary beads clicking softly between her fingers. Herr Schreiber, the baker, sits near the back, his shoulders hunched, his hands cracked and red from kneading dough in the freezing pre-dawn hours. There are others. Old widow Brenner, who lost her husband in the Great War and her grandson in this one. The Muller twins, who work at the munitions factory and come to Mass with exhaustion carved into their young faces. A handful of others whose names I know, but whose stories I do not ask about. And in the front pew, dead center, sits Hauptsturmführer Keller. He arrived 5 minutes ago, walking in with the slow, deliberate confidence of a predator. His boots clicked on the stone floor, each step echoing like a gavel. He did not dip his fingers in the holy water. He did not genuflect. He simply sat down, crossed one leg over the other, and folded his hands in his lap. He is watching me now. I can feel his eyes on me as I prepare the altar, arranging the chalice, the paten, the cruets of wine and water. My hands are steady. Years of practice have taught me how to hide the tremor, but inside, I'm screaming. I light the candles. 6 of them, 3 on each side of the crucifix. The flames waver in the draft from the broken window, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The crucifix itself is old, the paint chipped and faded, Christ's face worn smooth by centuries of touch. His eyes are closed, his mouth is open in silent agony. I wonder if he feels as abandoned as I do. I turn to face the congregation and raise my hands. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. They respond in unison, their voices flat and tired. Amen. The Mass begins. I move through the rituals mechanically, the Latin flowing from my lips without thought. Kyrie eleison, Christa eleison, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy. The words feel hollow. I'm asking for mercy from a God who seems to have stopped listening. Or maybe he is listening, and this is his answer. We reach the homily. This is the moment, the decision. I can feel the weight of the 2 pieces of paper in my pocket, my homily and Keller's. I have 30 seconds to choose. I step up to the pulpit and grip the edges, the wood smooth and cool beneath my palms. I look out at the congregation. They are waiting. Frau Dietrich has stopped praying. Herr Schreiber has lifted his head. Even the Muller twins are paying attention. Now, their eyes red-rimmed and desperate, they want hope. They want truth. They want someone to tell them that this nightmare will end. But hope is dangerous. Truth is deadly. I reach into my pocket. My fingers brush against both pieces of paper. I pull out Keller's homily. I unfold it slowly, my hands shaking just slightly, and I begin to read. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, today's gospel reminds us of the importance of obedience, of submission to authority. For as St. Paul tells us in Romans chapter 13, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. The words taste like ash in my mouth. I continue. In these difficult times, we must remember that the state is not our enemy. It is our protector. It is our shepherd. To resist the state is to resist the will of God himself. I look up. Keller is smiling. It is a small smile, barely there, but I see it. He is won. He has broken me. Or has he? I fold the paper and set it aside. I place both hands on the pulpit and lean forward. But let me also remind you, I say slowly, carefully, of another passage from the book of Exodus, when Pharaoh commanded the Hebrew midwives to kill all the male children born to the Israelites. The midwives feared God, and they did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them. They let the boys live. The chapel is silent. Keller is no longer smiling. I continue, my voice quiet but steady. And God blessed the midwives for their disobedience, not because they defied authority, but because they obeyed a higher law, the law of life, the law of mercy, the law that says every soul, no matter how small, no matter how hunted, is precious in the eyes of the Lord. I can see Frau Dietrich's lips moving. She is praying again, but her eyes are open now, locked on mine. I take a breath. There are times when obedience to man is disobedience to God, and in those times we must choose. Do we save our bodies by surrendering our souls, or do we risk everything to remain faithful to the truth? I pause. I look directly at Keller. I cannot answer that question for you, I say softly. But I know what the midwives chose, and I know that God remembered their courage. I step down from the pulpit. The silence in the chapel is absolute. No one moves. No one breathes. Keller stands. He does not say a word. He simply turns and walks toward the door, his boots clicking on the stone, each step a promise. He reaches the door, opens it, and steps out into the gray morning light. The door closes behind him. I do not know if I will see tomorrow, but I finish the Mass. The Eucharist is the most dangerous part, not because of the ritual itself, but because it is the moment when I am most exposed. I stand at the altar with my back to the congregation, my hands raised, holding the bread and wine that will become, according to the mystery of faith, the body and blood of Christ. I am vulnerable, unguarded. If Keller had left men behind to arrest me, this is when they would move. But I do not hear footsteps. I do not hear the door opening. I continue. I elevate the host, the thin wafer pale and fragile between my fingers. This is my body which will be given up for you. I think about the children below, about the body I am risking, about the flesh that will be broken if I am caught. I set the host down and pick up the chalice. The wine is cheap, sour, the only kind we can get anymore. I lift it high. This is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Blood. How much blood has been poured out in this city, in this country, in this war, and for what? I drink from the chalice. The wine burns my throat. I set it down and turn to face the congregation. The body of Christ. They come forward one by one, hands outstretched, mouths open. I place the host on each tongue, my fingers brushing against dry, chapped lips. I murmur the words over and over. The body of Christ. The body of Christ. Frau Dietrich kneels before me, her eyes wet with unshed tears. I place the host on her tongue and I want to tell her, your son is probably dead. But I am trying to save someone else's son. Forgive me. But I say nothing. Herr Schreiber receives communion with his head bowed, his shoulders shaking. I wonder what he is carrying, what secrets he keeps. The Muller twins come together, side by side, identical faces pale and drawn. They work in the factory that makes bombs. Their hands assemble the weapons that kill. Do they pray for forgiveness? Do they believe they need it? The last parishioner returns to their seat. I finish the prayers. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. They respond, thanks be to God. But the words sound like a question. The congregation files out slowly, one by one, slipping back into the cold morning, back to their jobs, their rations, their fear. No one speaks to me. No one looks at me. They know better, except Frau Dietrich. She pauses at the door, glancing back over her shoulder. Our eyes meet. She does not smile. She does not nod, but something passes between us. An understanding, a warning. She knows, or she suspects. I do not know which is worse. The door closes. The chapel is empty. I am alone. I extinguish the candles one by one, the smoke rising in thin gray threads. I remove the vestments, folding them carefully, hanging them back on their hooks. I drain the remaining wine from the chalice. It is a sin to waste it. And I rinse the vessel with water, drying it with a linen cloth that has been patched so many times it is more thread than fabric. I move to the sacristy and lock the door behind me. Then I kneel beside the heavy rug in the corner and pull it aside. Beneath it is the stone slab, 3 feet square with an iron ring set into the surface. I grip the ring and pull. The stone is heavy, and my muscles scream with the effort, but I manage to lift it, propping it against the wall. Below is darkness. I whisper, "It is me." A pause. Then a small voice, fragile and frightened. "Father?" "Yes, are you all right?" Another pause. "Jacob is cold, and he is coughing more." Jacob, so that is the youngest boy's name. I reach into my pocket and pull out half a loaf of bread I saved from my own rations. It is hard and stale, but it is food. I lower it into the darkness. A small hand reaches up and takes it. "Thank you," Rachel whispers. "Can you hold on for 2 more days?" I ask. "I'm arranging transport. Sister Agnes is coming." "We can hold on." But her voice wavers. I do not know if she is telling the truth or if she is just trying to be brave. "I will bring medicine tonight," I say. "For Jacob's cough, do not lose hope." "Father?" Her voice is even smaller now. "Are we going to die?" The question hangs in the air between us, heavy and terrible. I want to lie. I want to tell her everything will be fine, that she will survive, that she will grow up and have children of her own and live to be old and gray. But I'm so tired of lying. "I do not know," I say quietly. "But I'm going to try my hardest to make sure you do not. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Good. Now be silent and stay warm." I lower the stone slab back into place, the weight of it settling with a dull thud. I pull the rug over it and stand, my knees aching, my back protesting. I'm 34 years old, and I feel ancient. I move to the small window in the sacristy and peer out through a crack in the boards. The street is empty. The snow is falling again, light and silent, covering everything in white. But I know Keller is out there somewhere, watching, waiting, planning. I do not know how much time I have left. The knock comes at noon. I am in the rectory, sitting at the small wooden table, trying to eat a bowl of thin cabbage soup that tastes like despair. The spoon freezes halfway to my mouth when I hear it. 3 sharp raps, deliberate and official. Not the signal, not Sister Agnes, someone else. I set the spoon down slowly, my appetite gone, and I stand. My legs feel weak, unsteady as I cross to the door. I take a breath. I smooth my cassock. I arrange my face into a mask of calm. I open the door. 2 men stand on the threshold. One is a Gestapo officer, tall and thin, his face sharp and angular like a hatchet. The other is a local collaborator, a man I recognize from the neighborhood, Franz Weber, a shopkeeper who lost his business and found a new career informing on his neighbors. The Gestapo officer says in German, "Father Matthias Koenig?" I nod. "Yes." "I am Inspector Vogel. This is Herr Weber. We have some questions for you." I step aside. "Please, come in." They enter, their boots tracking snow and mud onto the floor. Vogel's eyes sweep the room, taking in every detail. The small table, the narrow bed, the crucifix on the wall, the stack of books in the corner. He misses nothing. Weber closes the door behind them. He does not look at me. He is ashamed, I think. Or maybe he is just afraid. Vogel pulls out a chair and sits without invitation. He gestures for me to sit as well. I do. "You gave an interesting homily this morning," Vogel says. His voice is soft, almost conversational. Hauptsturmführer Keller found it thought-provoking. I say calmly, "I spoke of Scripture, the story of the Hebrew midwives." "Yes, and you drew a rather pointed comparison between Pharaoh and, well, the modern state." "I drew no such comparison," I lie. "I simply recounted the story as it is written in Exodus. If the Hauptsturmführer interpreted it otherwise, that is his prerogative." Vogel smiles. It does not reach his eyes. "You are a clever man, Father, educated, careful with your words, but let me be equally careful with mine. We are watching you. We have been for some time." My heart is pounding, but I keep my face neutral. I have nothing to hide. "No?" Vogel leans back in his chair, folding his hands. "Then you will not mind if we search the premises?" "Of course not. You are welcome to search." The lie comes easily. It has to. Because if they find the children, I am dead. And so are Rachel, Jacob, and the other boy. Vogel nods to Weber. Check the chapel, the sacristy, the rectory, everywhere. Weber hesitates, then nods. He leaves the room, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. Vogel and I sit in silence. He is studying me, looking for cracks, for tells, for any sign of guilt. I have learned how to hide them. I sit with my hands folded, my expression serene, my breathing slow and even. But inside, I am praying. Please, God, let them be silent. Let them be still. Let them not cough. Let them not move. Please. Minutes pass. Vogel says, "How long have you been the priest here, Father Koenig?" 7 years. And before that? I served in a parish in Bavaria, a small village. You would not know it. Try me. Oberammergau. He nods. The Passion Play. Yes. I attended once. As a boy, it was quite moving. It is a beautiful tradition. We are making small talk, dancing around the real conversation. He is trying to relax me, to make me comfortable, to get me to slip. I do not slip. More footsteps. Weber returns. He is pale, his forehead shining with sweat despite the cold. He shakes his head at Vogel. "Nothing, sir. I checked everywhere." Vogel's eyes narrow. "Everywhere?" "Yes, sir. The sacristy, the storage rooms, the cellar?" "There is no cellar, sir. Just the chapel and the rectory." Vogel stands slowly. He walks to the window and looks out at the street, his hands clasped behind his back. "You are very fortunate, Father Koenig, very fortunate indeed." I say nothing. He turns to face me. But fortune is a fickle thing. It can change very quickly. He steps closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I know you are hiding something. I can feel it, and when I find out what it is, and I will find out, there will be no mercy. Do you understand?" I meet his gaze. "I understand." "Good." He gestures to Weber. "Let us go." They leave. I stand at the door, watching them walk down the street until they disappear around the corner. Then I close the door, lock it, and lean against it, my legs shaking so badly I can barely stand. They did not find the children, but they will be back. And next time, they will look harder. It is nearly midnight when I finally allow myself to rest. The chapel is dark and silent, the candles long extinguished, the parishioners gone home hours ago. I sit alone in the front pew, my head bowed, my hands folded, and I try to pray. But the words will not come. I think about Vogel's face, about the way he looked at me, the certainty in his eyes. He knows. He does not have proof, but he knows. How long before he comes back with dogs, with engineers to tear up the floor, with orders to arrest everyone in the building? How long before Rachel, Jacob, and the other boy are dragged into the light and loaded onto a train? I clench my fists. I have been a priest for 12 years. I took vows of obedience, chastity, and poverty. I promised to serve God, to shepherd his flock, to be a beacon of light in the darkness, but I did not promise to continue. Deck be a coward. I stand and walk to the sacristy. I unlock the door and step inside, closing it behind me. I kneel beside the rug and pull it aside. I lift the stone slab, the muscles in my arms burning with the effort. "Rachel?" A pause. Then, "Yes, Father?" "Tomorrow night, Sister Agnes is coming. She will take you to the convent. From there you will go to the countryside, to a farm. You will be safe." "What about you?" "I will be fine." Another lie. "Father?" Her voice is trembling now. "Are you afraid?" I close my eyes. I want to lie again, to tell her I am brave, that I'm certain, that I have no fear. But I cannot. "Yes," I whisper. "I am terrified." A long silence. Then Rachel says softly, "Me too." "I know. But you are still helping us." "Yes." "Why?" I think about the question, about the answer, about the chalice and the homily and the choice I made this morning. "Because," I say slowly, "if I do not, then what am I? What is this cassock? What are these vows? If I cannot protect the innocent, then I am not a priest. I'm just a man in a costume, saying empty words to an empty sky. Do you think God is listening? I do not know, but I have to act as if he is, because if he is not, then we are truly lost. Rachel is silent. I lower the stone slab back into place. I stand and walk to the window. The snow has stopped. The sky is clear and the stars are out, cold and distant and indifferent. I wonder if God is like the stars. Beautiful, unreachable, silent. I turn away from the window and move to the small desk in the corner. I light a candle and pull out a piece of paper. I begin to write. Not a homily this time. A letter. To the bishop. To Sister Agnes. To anyone who will listen. I write about the children. About the hiding place. About the danger. I write instructions. If I'm arrested, if I disappear, someone must come for them. Someone must finish what I started. I fold the letter and seal it with wax. I will give it to Sister Agnes tomorrow night when she comes for the children. If she comes. If we survive that long. I blow out the candle and stand. The rectory is cold and dark and silent. I climb into bed fully clothed, the blanket pulled up to my chin, and I stare at the ceiling. I think about Vogel, about Keller, about the moment they will come for me. I think about Rachel's question, are we going to die? I do not know, but if we do, I hope it is quick, and I hope God is merciful enough to forgive me for all the lies I told to keep us alive this long. I do not sleep. I lie in the dark, listening to the sounds of the city, the distant rumble of trucks, the occasional bark of a dog, the wind rattling the shutters. I think about the children below, huddled together in the darkness, waiting for rescue or discovery. I think about the homily I gave this morning, about the line I crossed. I think about the chalice. At some point before dawn, I get out of bed and walk to the small wash basin. The water is frozen again. I crack it and wash my face, the cold shocking me awake. I look at myself in the mirror. I barely recognize the man staring back. His eyes are hollow. His face is gaunt. His hands are shaking, but he is still standing. I dry my face and pull on my cassock, buttoning it slowly, mechanically. I move to the desk and pick up the chalice. It is tarnished and dull, the gold worn away in places, revealing the brass beneath. This chalice was meant to hold the blood of Christ, but tonight it feels like it is holding something else, something heavier. The weight of every choice I have made, every lie I have told, every life I have tried to save. I set the chalice down and walk to the window. The sun is beginning to rise, a pale gray light spreading across the horizon. The city is waking up. People are stirring. The machinery of occupation is starting again. And I'm still here, still lying, still hiding, still pretending that what I am doing is enough. But it is not enough. It will never be enough. Because for every child I save, there are 100 more I cannot reach. For every family I shelter, there are 1,000 more being loaded onto trains. For every small act of defiance, there are 1,000,000 acts of obedience that make this horror possible. I am one man, one priest, one voice in the darkness, and the darkness is so much louder. I press my forehead against the cold glass of the window and close my eyes. I do not know if Rachel, Jacob, and the other boy will survive. I do not know if Sister Agnes will come tonight. I do not know if Vogel will return with orders to tear this place apart. I do not know anything, except this. Tomorrow, I will wake up again. I will say Mass again. I will lie again. I will hide the children again. I will risk everything again. Because the alternative is to do nothing. And I cannot do nothing. I open my eyes and look out at the city. The sun is rising. The snow is melting. And somewhere in the distance, I hear the sound of boots on cobblestones. They are coming. Not today, maybe. Not tomorrow. But soon. And when they do, I will face them with the same tool I have carried every day since this nightmare began. Not a chalice, not a cross, not a prayer. But a choice. The choice to remain human in a world that rewards monsters. The choice to tell the truth in a system built on lies. The choice to save one life, even if I cannot save them all. I step away from the window and walk to the door. I open it and step out into the cold morning air. The streets are still mostly empty. The city is gray and silent and broken. But I am still here, still standing, still fighting. I blow out the candle. I survived today. But the sun will rise in 6 hours, and I will have to learn how to lie all over again. They will write books about the battles, the generals, the treaties, But they will not write about this, the quiet heresy committed in the name of mercy, the sacred documents forged to save the condemned, the men and women who wore the collar and the habit and chose treason over complicity. If you want to remember the people who lived in the cracks of history, the ones who saved lives one forged baptismal certificate at a time, if you want to witness the courage that looked like cowardice, the faith that looked like doubt, then you are in the right place. Subscribe, remember us, because the world tried very hard to make us disappear.